is that they give you a drug to treat a symptom which creates another problem. So they give you another drug to treat that problem. Now you're taking two. And I was reading an article, a real article about someone who had a problem, and they were taking 5 different medications. And the article said that all of this could have been solved, the person's problems could have been solved by just taking calcium. Because of lack deficiency of calcium, then they got recommended this drug and that drug and prescriptions, and they're expensive. And then the side effects, for most drugs, practically all drugs, it's just not worth it. I mean, you start seeing side effects that may induce suicide. When God has given us His Word, it makes decisions in life easy. We went to the hospital. We knew eventually at the hospital that they were going to recommend radiation and chemotherapy. That's how it works. Okay? So a few weeks ago, we had to go back for another follow-up appointment. I think it was last Wednesday, I guess. And they told us about taking this shot. And the way it's done, sometimes God will give you alert to what's going on. Just the way things happen, sometimes you know that this is not what I should do. You know, when you go to the doctor, you expect to wait. Although I don't understand appointments. We have a 1 o'clock appointment. Right. But once you get there at 1 o'clock, then I should already seen at 1 o'clock. Right. That's just my dumb logic, okay? So when I get to the hospital on time, then they sign in, then you wait. You sit in this room for like 30, 40 minutes, then somebody come and I figure, okay, now we're on our way. No, that person is going to take your temperature and wait. Then you go back to the waiting room and wait for the next person. Now, I sit there so long, I want to just take a walk. I started taking a walk, and I got down the hall, and then my doctor, Dr. Mina, she just called me, and Shelley called me and said, come on back, the doctor's here. And she was just a preliminary doctor. I talked to her for a few minutes, and now she has to go get the other doctor, and he'll be free in just a few minutes. So now I'm waiting for another doctor, right? And then the whole wait time, I was gone over an hour. But this doctor tells me that there's a shot I can take. They want me to take this shot, and it'll be able to evaluate my situation better. And it's right around the corner, the same floor. And they already called. They're expecting me to come and take this shot and just go right there and then, okay? And it didn't sit right with me. I said, this is too convenient. The brother's waiting. Not going to rush me through and get the shot right now. And so walking in the hall, I was praying. I said, Lord, don't let it work. Did I tell you about this already? I did. Just listen to it again. I said, Lord, don't let this work. And the Lord spoke back to me and said, don't take it. I didn't expect that answer. I said, okay, but I still wasn't satisfied yet inside. And so I asked Shirley, I said, what do you think I should do? I said, I don't feel real good about taking this, And she said, well, she said, she got the phone and called the other doctor I'm seeing. When it doesn't prescribe me drugs, we have it's all natural and basically oxygen, air. And he said, tell him don't take anything while he's there. Tell him not to let them do nothing to him. I got to tell this story. He said he had to go to the doctor about some kind of situation. And the nurse asked him, is he allergic? What medicines is he allergic to? And he said, all of them. And so he said the lady left the room, and he's like I hear her talking, there was a little thin wall, she talked to the doctor in the other room, and explaining what just took place. So the doctor started, he said, well, maybe he didn't understand you. Go back again and explain to him. So he said she came back in. He said now she's talking to me real slow, like I'm slow of understanding. Sir, we need to know what drugs are you either allergic to or that you cannot take? He said, okay, I can't take any of them. They said, nothing we can do for you, then just send him home. Okay?
Right.
And he said, so you tell him not to let them do anything. Come and see me when it's over. So you go into the room to get the shot. And so I asked the nurse, I said, she'd be all ready for me, and just come sit in this chair. And she goes, this just take 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll go on your way. And I said, well, can I read some information? Is there anything I can do a little research on it? I said, I'm not just sure I want to do it right this minute. She said, oh, no problem. She disappeared and came back with some papers. And what the doctor told me as far as side effects, what amazed me, is that the doctor was telling me how I felt, and I didn't feel anything the doctor was saying. It was like he's trying to sell me on how I felt.
Right.
He's like, right now you feel real weak, and you're having chills, and you're anemic, and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking about the fact that the last time I was in this hospital, when I was a patient, I could only walk maybe 100 yards on my floor, and I had to sit down in a chair for 10 minutes and walk back to my room, and I walked from the parking lot. And how much stronger I was when I was here 2 weeks ago. Now he's going to try to tell me, and I'm listening to this guy telling me like this is how I feel. And everything he said, he mentioned 4 things, and I didn't feel none of them before. So then he told me, it's like, look, when you take this shot, you're going to feel this a little bit, and you're going to have a little bit of sickness, and blah, 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 what have you. And he just mentioned, he just glossed over. When we got the printing material on the shot, they call it the castration shot. Imagine that. Okay? That's not the medical term for it, but that's what it is. Okay? And she heard the list of things. There's 30 different side effects, all of which make me feel worse than I felt before I even started going to the hospital.
Right.
Just the side effects. I mean, they're like horrendous side effects. And I said, when I see this doctor again, I'm going to ask him, would you take this shot? Would you recommend this for your mother? Or for your son or your brother? Would you recommend they take this shot? But there's a preliminary shot for chemotherapy. Okay? And I don't know anybody yet in my life who's recovered from cancer through chemotherapy. I know they lose their hair, they're sick all the time, then they die. And that's just how it is. Or radiation, same thing. I don't know anybody who's recovered from cancer with radiation. But God told us this a long time ago. And so when it comes time to, like I said, mixing the Word of God with faith, some decisions are just easy to make. So okay, he told us this. And he has all kind of, we discovered so many things that can treat anything, and they're all natural stuff. Readily available stuff. Teas, there's certain kind of teas that just do wonders. Did you talk to them? Okay, did you talk to them?
No.
No? Okay, well, she sent somebody some information. Anyhow, there's a new tea we just got the other day. And this tea is supposed to be incredible. The thing about the tea is that is the part that I'm interested in is that it will stop the pain. Okay? When I'm medicated, I'm in a tremendous amount of pain. Every once in a while, I'll see where my pain level's at and just wait past the time to take the drug again, so I can just see if I'm getting better now. Okay? And but this tea is supposed to alleviate a lot of the pain, not to mention all the healing properties that it has. So last night, I began drinking this tea for the very first time, and even with the pain prescription I'm taking, I've always had this hip pain that just does not go away. I don't care what they've given me, and in the leg and what have you, that keeps me awake at night. I can't sleep with it. I might sleep for like a half an hour. I go to sleep intermittently, wake up, go to sleep like that all night long. And last night was the first night after drinking this tea, I didn't drink that much of it, that I realized laying in bed that this hip pain is gone. It wasn't from the medication, because the medication hadn't taken away yet. I've been on this medication, I was left the hospital. But the tea, she didn't have taken away. And so today, I drank some more of it. I'm hooked down. I'm drinking this tea like it's the thing to do. And it's just, I feel better today than I felt since I don't know when. And that pain, that constant hip pain, Shudder has had to rub my legs with this oil and massage all the time. It's just, she'll come in the room to, okay, drop it. I mean, it's time to massage, okay? And it's right there. And they told me in the hospital, they took x-rays that I have a fracture in my spine, lower spine, which they said is part caused by the cancer, going to the bones, and so on and so forth. It might be, it may not be. Personally, I didn't really take anything they said to heart. And I'm not saying that I took it lightly, I took it very seriously. But not in the sense that it goes beyond God's ability. What kept going through my mind as they're talking to me is anything too hard for the Lord? And they could have said cancer, hepatitis, A to Z, and anything else. It didn't make any difference because my trust and my faith is in the Lord. As he can heal anything. They got a name for it, but I'm not embracing this. I'm not saying I had never claimed cancer. I don't really claim being sick, I'll be honest with you. I got a leg that hurts. I've got a sore leg. And that's as far as it is. And God's going to take care of that. And He's given me all the stuff, everything that we read and researched that they prescribed, natural things, they were on our stuff already. Stuff Sugar been buying all along. And we already had all this stuff. So all we got to do is now start taking it. So we're going to attack this. So we're going to attack it full scale, and that's the way I've been doing. And I'm telling you, I have a birthday, this is the 1st of October, I got a birthday in 7 days. I don't expect to have any sickness in 7 days. I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. I expect this to be all completely over. I'm going back to the hospital and having run blood tests and everything else that they did to diagnose what I had, do the same thing all over again, so I can know for sure, black and white printout that, okay, that's gone. And watch their faces.
Yes, amen.
And ask them, when they ask me, well, what did you do? Something you all can't do. I had a different doctor. A doctor that took your machines and used them in ways that you didn't know they worked. And they had me do those scans and have you, and so on and so forth. The Lord was letting me know, He said, this machine is to tell them certain things. He said, but, my staff came in and rewired it. It's doing something different now. He said, this machine is supposed to diagnose you and tell you what's wrong. He said, I'm having it heal you. He didn't say that to me. I'm laying in this tube. It's like everything is in these long tubes, and if you're claustrophobic, you're in bad shape. You just have to just close your eyes, pretend you're outside somewhere. But this stuff is just right above you, can't move, you're all closed in, and these things start going around and what have you, and making noise and stuff. And the Lord said, don't worry about it. He said, I'm using this to my advantage. He said, don't worry. And he's been saying that. He said, but he's his chief physician. And I know that. Okay, now that was another subject altogether. I'll just go back to this again. Don't know how I got there. I'm not trying to go back in my mind and figure out how I got there. Let's just go here. Okay. Greatly beloved, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard. Your prayer was heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia. Now the kingdom of Persia is now today modern Iraq, Iran area. Been around for a long time. I told you guys, I went to war, the Gulf War. I said, we might win the war. But I said, as a nation, we've been around since 1776. Iraq was around before Jesus. I said, anywhere in the world they're going to just lay down. So we're going to win the war, but we're going to lose the peace. And that's exactly what happened. And eventually, these nations they're going to be there. They're written in the Bible. They've been there forever. They have a strong demon prince over them, and that's Satan's stronghold over there. That Middle East is his stronghold. He put his troops, he put all of his countries around Israel with the intent of wiping out Israel. But he got some strong demon princes running that territory, and they run it. Anyhow, the prince of the kingdom of Persia, who is one of those who fly. Okay, he's not the king, but he runs the kingdom. Follow me? He's not the president, but he runs the president. Anybody can tell you, anybody with a brain knows that any president that we've ever had throughout our history does not run the country. They got a boss. They listen to somebody else to take orders, so on and so forth. And Obama is not completely in charge. He has to answer to somebody. And with the way contributions are given for elections and so on and so forth, with big business, what have you, and not having given account for the money they give, how much they give, or where they got it from, and so on and so forth, and just to get their certain bill passed or certain legislation passed for their own benefit, they give millions and billions of dollars, and then that president's under obligation to, to work out something that is going to give them some payback. But in some cases, he can't do it. And promises that they make when they're campaigning, they can't be fulfilled because somebody else said, well, you're not going to do that. There's still some powerful families running this world, known as the Illuminati. And above them, there are these demons that run the Illuminati. Okay? And here's such a case here. And because of prayer, Daniel activated two great angels, Gabriel and the Prince of Persia. The Prince of Persia on the other side, he's the enemy. But the Prince of the Kingdom of Persia withstood me 120 days. It's 3 weeks. Imagine that. When the prayer got to heaven, God dispatched Gabriel right then to answer Daniel's prayer. But on his way through the air, now the prince of the power of the air, Beelzebub, he didn't stop him. He's frying bigger fish. But he got some powers up there in the air. In this case, called the Prince of Persia, doesn't need a name. His name may be Persia, who knows? The country may be named after the angel himself. But the Prince of Persia hijacked him. There's a war going on. Stopped him in the air and held him captive. What do you think he held him for? To ask, what did Daniel pray? What's his prayer? And what's God's answer? I mean, you've all seen movies when somebody gets interrogated, so tortured, right? Happens in the spirit world. And he's held up for 3 weeks. And Daniel's praying and wondering, feeling like my prayer's not been answered. God answers every prayer you pray. But you're praying sometimes against powers that are out there to stop your prayer. When you pray for me, there's been a situation, I'm sure, that times you wanted to pray for me and something happened right then. And you forgot right then. Or something came up right then. It's okay, I'm going to take care of this. I'll pray for Pastor. And then you're about to pray again and something else comes up. Powers who recognize what your job is, to pray for this man, and their job is to stop you from praying. And then you pray, then I come out next Sunday limping. It's like, you wonder if our prayer is working. You pray, and then I'm sitting in a chair. But your prayers are being answered. God answers all of our prayers. Some things, again, there's a warfare taking place. And so he has to work with the warfare, but he's going to prevail. Trust me. Prince of the Kingdom of Persia withstood me 120 days. Below Michael, one of the chief princes. Now Michael is the chief prince. He basically took Lucifer's place when Lucifer fell. He's the archangel. But he's the prince that's assigned to the nation of Israel. Michael protects Israel. Okay? But he's in the air. He's not in the country. He's in the air, protecting Israel from the air. I think I told you one time that when I was in the military, I was on a destroyer. We were sent to be an escort for an aircraft carrier. And we're out there in the Atlantic Ocean. And I finally asked the captain, I said, I thought we were like being an escort for the carrier. He said, we are, son. I said, well, where's the carrier? He got up and went to the chart, showed me where the carriers were at on the map. Then he showed me the radar scope, a little beat there says the carrier, the big blip there, the thing goes around and says the carrier. I said, well, how are we escorting the carrier and we can't even see the carrier? He said, don't worry about it. He said, we got 5 ships escorting the carrier. And this carrier is it's got a crew of 7,000 men. So they got about $20 billion for the aircraft. on that carrier. He said, believe it's not vulnerable. Right? He said, now our job as destroyers is to destroy anything that comes near it. And I said, well, like, what do you call near? He said, well, within 100 miles. And we're 50 miles away. He said, we'll cover it. He said, anything that comes within 100 miles of that carrier, so we're going to take it out. And I began to understand now that, that you don't have to be right there to do your job. The angel, Prince of Michael, he's in the air. We got Israel covered from the air. He's taking care of us. He's their escort. So Michael comes down. Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. And I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is for many days, and hasn't been fulfilled yet. That's when he comes to give the 70-week prophecy, in which 6 to 9 weeks has been fulfilled. There's still another 7 years to be fulfilled, which is going to kick off at any time. And that's why I think it's just a golden opportunity to be assigned to broadcast out of Jerusalem, where I can talk to the church and Israel. I'm excited about it. Back to this Beelzebub again. Let's go back to Matthew 12. I'll be done at 9:30. Okay. I didn't intend to be here this late, to get here this late tonight. I was late getting here for a few reasons. But my ideal Bible class is to start teaching at 8:45 and have you out by 9 o'clock. But nothing is ideal anymore. Everything has changed. So, but I still expect to be here at 8:45 teaching, but I expect to be here sometimes a little later. Right? Because I don't know much, I have no idea how much time I got. So I'm trying to cram everything in that the Lord gives me in one session. "24. But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, This fellow doth not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of devils. And Jesus knew their thoughts." That's in verse 1. It says in Psalms, to write this down, Psalms 139 and 2, only God knows the thoughts. But Jesus resorted to being God right there, knew the thoughts. And with the thoughts that he knew, he said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. That's the law. Any kingdom divided, he goes on and gets more detail than that. He says, any house divided against itself can't stand. That's why it's so important, parents, for you and your husband, you and your wife, to be in agreement, particularly in raising your children. Because children will take advantage of it. And they're smart. Mama said no, so they go to daddy. If mama said no, the answer from daddy should be automatic. Amen. They shouldn't even go to daddy. This shouldn't cross their mind. Mom said no, so dad's going to say no. Even if dad don't think the no is the right answer. If mom said no, so it's no. Follow me? Dad said okay, so it's okay. But there's not be differences. That's the way the military is in chain of command on the ship. When they give an order, the captain gives the order, and the XO repeats that order right away. Let them know we're in agreement on this. If you watch that movie, Christmas Tide, that was the gist of that movie. You got to look. They had an emergency action alert. Message came down. The captain reads it, and the XO reads it right away and confirms the message is being authentic. But they cannot be in disagreement on it. And same thing with the household. You have to be on the same page raising children. And you have to be. Discipline or whatever it might be. You have to be on the same page because the children will pit one against the other, take advantage of it, and then that house can't stand. Because now the parents no longer run the house, the kids are. And that's the worst nightmare in the world, to have your kids running you. You're supposed to be in charge of them. And it doesn't mean making them happy or pleasing them. Most of the time, you don't. And most of the time, you're going to have to say no as opposed to saying yes. And that's just the way it is. You're not trying to be their friends, you're being their parents. Amen. You get to be friends in the process. And I can tell you, if you're the proper kind of parent, you and your children will be friends when it's all over. You'll grow up, they'll become your best friend. And you'll be their best friend. But in the process of growing up, there's going to be a whole lot of times when they ain't going to like you. And that's just too bad for them. It's too bad. Don't lose your sleep when your kid not liking you. Your job is to make them lose sleep. Right? Anyhow, in every city, here it is right here. In every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. Now they're saying that he cast out demons by the power of Beelzebub, which means Satan then is casting out Satan, which makes Satan look pretty stupid. You agree? That's the whole logic doesn't make sense. He said, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then shall then his kingdom? That's probably what we're going to. Okay, we study. We're going to look at Satan's kingdom, because Satan has a kingdom, and God's been telling us for some time that his kingdom is now of such proportions, size-wise, and of such power, scientific-wise and technology-wise, that he is now ready to take on God in war. And he thinks he can win. Okay? That's why all the stories in the Bible read in conflicts where God's involved, that God's people and God's numbers are always in a minority. Because that's how it really is. I believe, this is my own conviction, I have no scripture to prove this, I believe that Satan's kingdom is much larger than God's. If it was bigger, I believe it's stronger, I believe it has more. On paper, it wins. On paper, his kingdom, Satan should win. Okay? But there's just one little difference, and that's God himself. How dare you, how do you really think you're going to outmaneuver the Creator?
Right.
How are you going to outthink the one who made your brain? And that's quite a task, you agree? The one who made your whole thought pattern knows how you think. Now I'm going to outthink him. How? It can't be done. Right? I mean, just think about it. How do you outthink the one who made you? And Satan is so lifted up in his own pride and arrogance and so on and so forth, and because of sin can make you think something that ain't real.
Right.
And he really thinks that he's going to take God out. He's sure of it. So sure he's going to go to war against him. That's when you get to Revelation chapter 12, it says that there was a war in heaven. Satan and his angels fought against God and his angels. Why was Satan engaged in that battle? Because he thinks he's going to win. He thinks he has the power to actually take God out. But he has a kingdom. Understand that. He has a kingdom. And his kingdom consists of what we know as aliens. That's his kingdom. And trust me, his kingdom is divided against itself. Okay? All the others don't have the same agenda. They got different agendas, they got factions against each other, and they're fighting each other. Ultimately, Satan is in charge of all of them. They all got to listen to him, but they got their own agenda. Now, if Satan, being a part of God's kingdom, got to the place where he defected and thinks he can take God out and undermine God, he has to realize he got the same problem in his kingdom. He has those in his kingdom who think they can take him out. Only problem is that they're as smart as he is and don't have the power he has. The only thing that keeps them in line is Satan's brain, smarter than them, but he knows he has factions. And I dare say him being as smart as he is, he'll take out some of them himself before it's all over. Because he doesn't need them. But he's got the Draconians and the Reptilians and the Greys and so on and so forth. They got their own different agendas. And they're fighting against each other. And this kingdom's divided. And they can't stand, but understand, he got a kingdom. Or Jesus going to say it, mention. How shall his kingdom stand? And if I, by Beelzebub, cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? So it's two things. Number one, there were Jews casting out devils. On the scene when Jesus was on the scene, casting out devils. I dare say before he came on the scene. There was exorcisms being formed, so on and so forth. Exorcisms. But they were casting out devils. He says, so now if you say that I'm casting out devils by the prince of devils, then what devils are your children using to cast them out? They were done there. They hadn't thought that far. Jesus was real smart, you know. They're going to accuse him, but then exclude theirs. Well, I'm doing this by a devil. Then what devils are your children using? Right. Therefore, they should be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, I love this verse, then the kingdom of God is coming to you. Just that simple. If I'm on the side, I'm casting out devils. I'm causing dismay. I'm causing, what's the word? Mayhem. I'm causing mayhem in Satan's kingdom. Then that means the kingdom of God has come to you. He's got an enemy now. He can't control. I made this blind man, this man who was blind and dumb, I made him see and speak, and Satan lost some power there. And he couldn't stop me, because I'm the stronger one. I'm the greater than he that is in you.
That's right.
If I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God is coming to you. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house? He said, a man can't rob another man unless he's stronger than him. Then he goes to his house and bind the weaker man and steal his stuff. He said, I'm a strong man. I'm coming to Satan's house to bind him and steal his goods and spoil his goods. And I can do it. He that is not with me is against me. And he that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad. There's a verse, there's an expression I thought was in this context here, and I'm looking for it. Rodney, find the expression where it says the finger of God. I thought I had my notes. The finger of God.
Luke 11.
Luke 11? Okay, there you go. That's come right there. Matthew, look at Matthew. No, Matthew 6:33. Let's just check it out. See what it says. No, that's not it. Okay. Turn to, let me read this note to you. Listen up. But if I by the Spirit of God, etc., the Spirit of God here means the power of God. In Luke, he says by the finger of God. Okay? And that expression just caught my attention. What caught my attention was when God wrote the 10 Commandments. He said he wrote it on tables of stone with his own finger. Right? So this finger of God is something pretty powerful. So let's compare Exodus, you write this down, Exodus 8:19. Let's just read it. Then the magicians said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord has said. When they brought the plague of lice, let's read to start the whole context here in verse 16. The Lord said to Moses, said to Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land. They may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. Imagine that. Did you see this dust turning into lice? Getting everybody's hair, your clothes.